Brent Hinds, the legendary guitarist who helped put Mastodon on the map, has died after a motorcycle crash in Atlanta, according to reports. The news broke suddenly and spread like wildfire across the music community, leaving fans, peers, and countless admirers of his work in disbelief. The band confirmed the devastating loss Thursday on Instagram, saying they were in a state of unfathomable sadness and grief. They added, "We are heartbroken, shocked, and still trying to process the loss of this creative force. Our hearts are with Brent's family, friends, and fans, and we ask for privacy during this difficult time." For a band known for its thunderous sound, technical mastery, and deep emotional resonance, losing a member who embodied so much of their spirit felt like a wound that might never truly heal. The news of his death hit particularly hard because it came only months after very public drama between Brent and Mastodon. Back in March, the group had announced they had mutually decided to part ways with the guitarist, suggesting the split was amicable and rooted in artistic or personal differences. But Brent himself contradicted that narrative earlier this month, claiming in an interview that he had been pushed out, not that he left on his own. Fans were already processing the idea of a Mastodon without Brent, a thought that felt almost impossible given how much of the band's identity had been tied to his playing and personality. Now, with his sudden passing, the conversation shifted from speculation about his future to mourning the finality of his story. Brent Hinds was best known as the co-founder and lead guitarist of Mastodon, a band that changed the face of modern metal. Alongside Troy Sanders, Bill Kelleher, and Bran Daylor, he helped form the group in 2000, quickly establishing themselves as one of the most innovative and ambitious acts in heavy music. Over the years, Mastodon released 8 albums, each one evolving in sound and scope, pushing boundaries, and refusing to be boxed in by genre expectations. Their 2018 Grammy win for Best Metal Performance with A Sultan's Curse was a career-defining moment, not just because it gave them mainstream recognition, but because it cemented their reputation as a band that could maintain artistic credibility while still gaining global acclaim. Brent's role in that success was impossible to overstate. His guitar work was both ferocious and emotional, weaving together crushing riffs with delicate, almost ethereal melodies. He had a unique ability to balance chaos and beauty, often within the same song. His solos were not just technical displays but emotional statements, each one feeling like a conversation between him and the listener. His influence on Mastodon's sound was immense, and for fans, his presence on stage was magnetic. The sight of Brent, often shirtless, tattoos sprawled across his skin, leaning into his guitar with unfiltered intensity, was an image etched into the memories of those who saw him perform live. Brent was 51 at the time of his passing, and though his career spanned decades, it still felt like he had so much more to give. Musicians like him rarely come along, not just because of skill, but because of the personality and soul behind the playing. He was more than a guitarist, he was a storyteller. Each riff, each chord progression, each note carried pieces of his life, his humor, his anger, his heartbreak, and his joy. His music was not just entertainment, but a window into his being. As fans reflected on his passing, many revisited the early days of Mastodon, back when the band first broke onto the scene with albums like Remission and Leviathan. These records were groundbreaking, blending sludge metal, progressive elements, and a sheer heaviness that set them apart from their peers. Brent's guitar work was central to that sound, unpolished yet intricate, brutal yet nuanced. When Mastodon released Leviathan in 2004, a concept album inspired by Herman Melville's Moby Dick, it became clear that this was not just another metal band. They were storytellers who used heaviness as a vessel for bigger ideas, and Brent's guitar gave those stories teeth and wings. As the years went on, albums like Blood Mountain, Crack the Sky, and The Hunter pushed the band further into experimentation. Crack the Sky, in particular, is often hailed as a masterpiece, a deeply personal and cosmic journey inspired by drummer Bran Daylor's sister's death and themes of astral travel. Brent's guitar on that record wove the fabric of an otherworldly journey, mixing sorrow with transcendence. It showed the depth of his ability, not just to play fast or heavy, but to make listeners feel like they were being pulled through another dimension. Despite the accolades and the critical success, Brent was always candid about his personal struggles. He spoke openly about his battles with substance use, his sometimes tumultuous relationships with his bandmates, and his own sense of being an outsider even within the industry he helped shape. That raw honesty endeared him to fans. People didn't just admire Brent for his talent, they related to him because he didn't hide his flaws. He was authentic to the core, the kind of artist who refused to polish his image for the sake of appearances. The timing of his death, following his contentious split with Mastodon, adds a layer of tragedy to his story. Fans can't help but wonder what might have come next for him. Would he have started a new project? Would there have been a reconciliation with his bandmates? Would he have gone solo and pushed his sound in new directions? Now, those questions remain unanswered, forever lost to time. The Atlanta motorcycle crash that claimed his life serves as a reminder of how fragile and unpredictable life can be. Brent was known for his love of motorcycles, often sharing his passion for riding alongside his passion for music. For him, it was another form of freedom, another way of experiencing the world with intensity and immediacy. That such a passion would ultimately be tied to his end is cruelly ironic, and yet it feels fitting in a tragic way. Brent lived fast, played hard, and left everything he had on the stage and on the road. In the days following the news, tributes poured in from across the music world. Fellow musicians described him as not only a phenomenal guitarist but also as a kind soul with a mischievous sense of humor. Fans shared stories of meeting him after shows, often recalling how he would take time to chat, take photos, or share a laugh. To many, he wasn't just a rock star but a down-to-earth person who carried himself with humility despite his larger-than-life presence on stage. The grief surrounding his death is compounded by the sense of unfinished business, both in his career and in his personal life. At just 51, he had decades of potential music still inside him. For a band like Mastodon, who had already achieved legendary status in metal circles, the possibilities of future albums, tours, and collaborations felt endless. Now, that future has been cut short, leaving fans and friends alike to reflect on what has been lost. And yet, in reflecting, there is also gratitude. Gratitude for the body of work he leaves behind, for the riffs that still thunder through speakers, for the solos that still raise goosebumps, for the songs that helped fans through their own struggles and gave them strength. Brent's music will live on, not just as recordings, but as living memories tied to moments in people's lives. His art became part of the soundtrack for countless fans, from long road trips to late nights, from heartbreak to triumph, from despair to catharsis. That is the power of a true artist, and Brent Hinds embodied that power fully. The story of Brent's life is not one defined solely by tragedy. It is a story of creativity, of pushing boundaries, of building something from nothing. From the early days of playing in small Atlanta clubs to headlining festivals around the world, he proved that authenticity and passion could carve out a space in an industry often dominated by trends. Mastodon's success was never about fitting in but about standing apart, and Brent was a cornerstone of that philosophy. As the world continues to mourn, it's clear that Brent Hinds' legacy will endure. For fans, his riffs will always ignite something deep inside. For fellow musicians, his work will remain a source of inspiration, a reminder of what it means to pour yourself completely into your craft. For his bandmates, despite the recent conflict, he will always be part of the DNA of Mastodon, inseparable from the sound and the vision they created together. R.I.P. Brent Hinds. Gone too soon, but never forgotten.